Have you ever noticed that sometimes the harder you try to achieve something, the more it seems to slip away? The more you try to hold on to the reins, the more frustrated you become. The more afraid you are of losing, the more that fear steals your peace. And in the end, you're not tired of life, but of the weight of trying to control everything all the time. Today, I want to invite you to see this from a different perspective. It's not about abandoning your dreams, but about stopping pushing so hard to get there. It's about learning to desire calmly, confidently, and lightly. Think about what you've been searching for so strongly lately. Perhaps a change in job, true love, or a better financial situation. Now ask yourself honestly, why do I want this so badly? What do I think will change when it happens? And most importantly, what's stopping me from receiving it now? Maybe the problem isn't what you want, but the weight you've placed on that desire. That's what we're going to talk about today. When you relax, things start to happen, not by luck or chance, but because life flows better when you stop blocking your path with so much anxiety. Say it firmly with a decisive voice. Today, everything is starting to work out. It may seem simple, but this could be your first step. Stop trying to control everything and finally let things come to you. Before you continue, I just ask two things of you. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. That way, this message can reach those who also need to change their lives. Now let's move on. 1. Trust is the soil from which everything can grow. Trust isn't about standing still and waiting. It's about having the courage to move forward even when your heart is pounding. It's about keeping walking even when you can't see the whole path. True trust isn't about being naive or giving up. It's a silent choice, a strength within you that quietly says, I don't yet know how it will all unfold, but I know I can endure. Epictetus said that it's not things that shake us, but how we look at them. That's precisely where confidence emerges. It begins when you change the way you see what you can't control. When you let go of the urge to hold on to everything, what's left is essential: yourself, your attitude, your presence, and your courage to face the present with determination. The confidence of the wise isn't blind belief, nor is it pretending everything is fine. It's born of practice, of experience. It grows every time you look back and understand that what seemed like the end was actually a new beginning. What broke you was what shaped you. What was beyond your control taught you more than what worked. And this is where Alan Watts's words make sense. When you try to stay afloat, you end up sinking. But when you let go and let yourself be carried away, you float. This is trust. It's stopping fighting the present moment and letting it sustain you. When you trust, your mind slows down. You don't waste energy trying to predict what hasn't even happened yet. You stop wasting your peace trying to control people, situations, and responses. You begin to breathe easily because you understand that your role is to do the best you can, and the rest isn't up to you. Marcus Aurelius said, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." That's exactly it. Trusting is letting go of what isn't yours and putting your strength where it truly matters. And do you know what happens when you live this way? You stop suffering in anticipation. You sleep better. You listen more. You become more present, whole and free. You begin to accept your mistakes without punishing yourself because you understand you don't have to be perfect. And you live more calmly, not because everything has been resolved, but because you've become strong enough to carry on even when there's still uncertainty. So today, don't expect answers from the world. Don't try to guess what comes next. Just take the next step with firmness, clarity, and peace. This is the true meaning of trust. Moving forward, even without guarantees. True lightness is not an absence of responsibility, it is emotional maturity. We live in an age that confuses lightness with carelessness. For many, being light means living without commitment, without routine, without demands, an almost childlike state of freedom. But true lightness isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about knowing what matters. It comes from maturity, not from escape. It's the result of a mind that has learned to carry the essentials and let the rest go. Seneca said that a wise person does not carry more weight than necessary. And that's exactly what emotional maturity does. It teaches discernment. Not everything needs to be resolved now. Not every battle needs to be fought. Not every problem is truly yours. A light mind is not empty. It is organized. It separates what it can control from what it must accept, and it is in this separation that it finds peace. The weight that tires us most rarely comes from the world. It comes from our insistence on trying to solve things that don't depend on us. It's the worry about what others think, the fear of disappointment, the guilt of not being perfect, the obsession with wanting to fix everything and everyone. Lightness appears when you stop being hostage to these invisible demands and begin to act consciously. Being light is acting with presence, without the drama of rushing, without the burden of guilt, without the noise of fear. Epictetus taught that it is not things that disturb us but our opinions of them. Lightness comes precisely from questioning these opinions. Why do I blame myself so much? Why do I need to please so much? Why do I believe that if I stop for a moment, everything will fall apart? The weight of life lessens when the mind stops creating stories about what should be and learns to deal with what is. Emotional maturity is what shapes lightness. It teaches you to remain calm amidst chaos, to not take offense as truth, to not react to everything that provokes it. It's the balance between responsibility and serenity. The immature reacts, the mature responds, and this difference changes everything. The former lives like a leaf in the wind, carried by the emotions of the moment. The latter is like a tree. It feels the wind but doesn't lose its roots. Lightness isn't a lack of commitment. It's a commitment to what matters. It's being firm in purpose and gentle in posture. It's taking care of obligations without turning each one into suffering. Those who carry the world lightly aren't those who have less to do, but those who have learned to do it without clinging to the idea that everything depends on them. Think of a tightrope walker. They carry their body on a wire, but they don't tense it. They fluidly, attentively focused. Each step requires responsibility but also lightness. If they stiffen, they fall. If they get distracted, they fall too. The secret lies in the harmony between focus and fluidity. Such is life. You need direction and flexibility, strength and gentleness. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "Accept what the moment brings and act with simplicity, without arrogance, without dramatization." This phrase is a portrait of Stoic lightness, acting with courage, but without drowning in emotions. The light one is not the one who feels less. It is the one who feels consciously. It is the one who has learned to transform pain into wisdom, failure into a lesson, and uncertainty into faith. Lightness is a sign of inner strength. Only those who have carried a heavy load understand the value of walking more freely. Only those who have lost themselves in expectations learn the power of simply being. And this quiet strength comes from self-knowledge, from the courage to look within and see what can be released, what still holds on, and what needs to change. Being light means stopping fighting life. It means stopping demanding that everything be easy or quick. It means accepting the natural rhythm of things, knowing that time is not an enemy. Heaviness comes from resistance, lightness from acceptance. Therefore, don't confuse lightness with superficiality. A light mind is profound, because only those who understand life in its complexity can choose not to be crushed by it. Being light means being whole, but without rigidity. It means carrying responsibilities, but with a calm soul. It means knowing that you don't control the wind, but you can choose how to unfold the sails. And when you understand this, the world remains the same, but inside you, everything becomes lighter. 3. Peace does not come from the result, but from the attitude towards the process. Most people believe that peace will come when everything finally falls into place, when the money is right, the relationship is settled, life is in order. But this is one of the mind's greatest traps. Because as long as you believe peace depends on the outcome, it will always be out of reach. True peace isn't a prize at the end of the road, it's how you choose to walk it. Seneca said that he who lives waiting for tomorrow loses today. Obsession with the outcome turns the present into a corridor of anxiety. You spend your days postponing peace as if it were a reward that can only be felt after victory. But life is not a race. It is a continuous process of construction. And in this process, what matters is not the destination, but how you maintain yourself along the way. Stoicism teaches that the only territory that truly belongs to you is the now. The outcome depends on 1,000 external factors, luck, time, circumstances, but the process is the only place where your will has power. And it is precisely in this space that one's character is revealed. Because the wise do not act well to guarantee the result, they act well because the right act is a reward in itself. Think of a sculptor. He spends hours shaping stone, knowing the result may not turn out exactly as he imagined. But even so, he dedicates himself to the process with patience and focus. The pleasure lies in the act of sculpting, in the connection between himself and the material, in the sound of the chisel against the marble. If he only found satisfaction in the final work, he would never have the persistence to finish it. Life is the same. Those who learn to find meaning in the process never lose their way, even when the result takes time. The problem is that we've been educated to measure everything by gains and losses. We want recognition before effort, the fruit before the root. But those who live this way are always tense, always tired, always comparing. The mind becomes a battlefield between what is and what should be, and no soul finds peace when fighting the present. Epictetus taught that serenity comes from adjusting expectations to reality, not the other way around. This isn't giving up, it's acting wisely. It's understanding that the world doesn't exist to validate your plans, but to teach you through them. When you change your attitude toward the process, the quality of your experience also changes. Working, waiting, trying, failing, all of this ceases to be suffering and becomes learning. Peace arises when you learn to separate what depends on you from what doesn't, when you do what's within your reach with excellence and leave the rest to time. Patience in this sense is the highest form of trust. It says, I'm doing my best now and that's enough. This mindset liberates. Marcus Aurelius in his meditations would repeat to himself, do what must be done with justice, with serenity, and without haste. This is the essence of the Stoic stance, acting firmly, without anxiety, and accepting the result with humility. Because in the end, the result is only a photograph, the process is the entire film. True peace is silent, constant, and simple. It doesn't depend on applause or guarantees. It arises the moment you accept that you don't need to control the end to give your best now. It's the balance between surrender and acceptance, between effort and serenity. If you only find peace when everything goes right, you'll live at war for most of your life. But if you learn to be at peace while doing what you can, the world loses its power to shake you. Because peace isn't in what happens, it's in how you choose to react. So, stop postponing your peace of mind. It's not in the future, it's in how you live in the present. Do your best, accept what comes and move forward with ease. This is the attitude that transforms any process into a path, and any path into peace. 4. The mistake of chasing too much. The more you try to push peace, the more confusion you create within yourself. The more you try to maintain control of everything, the more lost you feel. This is the paradox of the quest. Excessive effort ends up becoming the obstacle itself. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic thinkers, taught something simple and profound. Don't wish for things to follow your plan, but for them to happen as they should. Then you will find tranquility. But most of us do the opposite. We try to push life too hard. We want to speed up time. We demand quick answers and guarantees for everything. And when the world doesn't respond the way we imagine, we plunge into frustration. The peace you seek isn't born of force, but of surrender. Imagine your mind as a calm lake reflecting the moon. If you try to catch the reflection with your hands, you only disturb the water and lose the image. But if you take a deep breath, calm down, and let the lake be still, the reflection returns on its own, beautiful and clear. Life works the same way. What you try to control out of fear slips away. What you accept with trust flows. Letting go isn't giving up. It's changing your support. leaving fear and grounding yourself in clarity. When you stop fighting for control, something inside you shifts. Anxiety loses its power, your body relaxes, and what seemed impossible begins to approach naturally. There's nothing magical about this. It's a shift in attitude. It's wisdom in action. Stoicism doesn't ask you to abandon your dreams or throw away your goals. It invites you to let go of the rush and accept the world as it is, not as you wish it to be, because it's in this acceptance that true strength is born. Acting out of fear makes you react in desperation, but acting with confidence makes you choose calmly and firmly, and that's what changes your results. Seneca said that true happiness is enjoying the present without depending on the future. This phrase is a map of wisdom, because those who are at peace with the present will never be prisoners of what hasn't yet happened. So, breathe. Stop chasing happiness as if it were hidden somewhere far away. It appears when you stop fighting what you're experiencing now. You don't need to beg for love, prove you're enough, or carry old guilt. Stoic acceptance isn't about giving up, it's clarity. It's about focusing on what truly matters. It's about trusting life without falling into the illusion that everything must be under your control. When you understand this, something changes inside. A new force is born, one that doesn't shout, doesn't push, but guides with balance and direction. If you're hearing these words now, maybe now's the time to take that step. Say it firmly, I choose to trust. And know that this isn't just a phrase, it's a new way of living. As Andy Warhol said, as soon as you stop wanting something so badly, it comes to you. 5. Over-control is fear disguised as planning. There's a fine line between wise planning and obsessive control. At first glance, both seem similar. They organize, anticipate, and anticipate. But the difference lies in the energy behind each. Planning is born of trust, control, of fear. The former paves the way, the latter tries to dominate it. And it's precisely this attempt to master the unpredictable that robs one of peace and exhausts the mind. Fear is a master in disguise. It dresses itself in logic, prudence, and responsibility. I just want to make sure everything works out, we say, without realizing that what we're really trying to ensure is that nothing gets out of our control. But Stoicism reminds us of a simple, immutable truth. Most things are beyond our control. The more we try to control them, the more imprisoned we become. Epictetus said that it is not what happens that disturbs you, but the wish that it happen otherwise. Over-control is exactly that, the refusal to accept what is. It's fear disguised as rationality. You convince yourself that you're simply being responsible, when in reality you're consumed by a desperate need for security. The problem is that such security doesn't exist. The world changes, people change, plans change. Trying to predict everything is a fight against nature. Planning is preparing, controlling is trying to replace fate. And the price of this attempt is high: anxiety, frustration, and a weariness that never goes away. The controlling mind is always on alert, calculating, anticipating, and predicting risks, and in this constant effort, it loses the present. It lives in the future that hasn't yet arrived, and when it finally does, it's already worried about the next one. It's an endless cycle of tension. Seneca, in his letters, warned, "What we fear most is often less terrible than fear itself." And that's exactly what control does. It creates imaginary monsters. You plan every detail not because you believe in success, but because you fear failure. And fear, when it directs action, robs you of lucidity. It makes you confuse prudence with paranoia, preparation with rigidity. Wisdom lies in balance. The Stoic plans what he can but accepts what comes. He sets goals but doesn't cling to the results. He organizes the path but doesn't try to prevent life from following its natural course. The wise mind knows that the unexpected is part of the greater plan, and that flexibility is more powerful than control. Think of a navigator. He studies the map, knows the stars, adjusts the sails, but knows the sea has a mind of its own. He plans, yes, but he also trusts. The controller, on the other hand, tries to dictate the wind, and when the wind changes, he despairs. The difference between the two is not preparation, but serenity. Mental rigidity is an attempt to protect yourself from pain, but it ends up causing it. Because by trying to control everything, you isolate yourself from the natural flow of life. You want to guarantee love, success, security, and end up suffocating what you most wanted to preserve. Love dies under the weight of control, success fades when pursued with fear, and security becomes impossible when you try to hold on to it with your hands closed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept what fate gives you and adapt with courage." This is the attitude of the wise. They understand that life is full of uncertainties and that peace lies not in eliminating risk, but in strengthening the mind to deal with it. Planning is good. Trying to control is futile. Fear feeds on the illusion that everything depends on you. Confidence arises from the awareness that there are forces at work that don't need to be controlled, just observed and understood. When you understand this, you begin to live more lightly. Releasing control doesn't mean giving up on effort. It's freeing effort from anxiety. It's acting with purpose, but without the desperation of someone who wants to guarantee every result. It's looking at what's under your control, your choices, your attitude, your discipline, and surrendering the rest to the flow of life. Planning is a tool, control is a prison, and the difference between them is fear. When the mind learns to trust, the body relaxes, the heart slows, and clarity returns. Because in the end, what truly makes you lose control isn't the world outside. It's the fear of not being able to handle what the world brings. Trust is the cure. Plan wisely, but allow fate space to act. It is in this space, between what you do and what life gives back, that true peace resides. 6. Act as if it were already reality. You don't attract what you desire when you're filled with anxiety. You attract what you live with truth and coherence. The mind needs to see clear signs, and acting as if you're still waiting only shows that, deep down, you don't truly believe. But when you start walking like someone who already knows where they're going, everything changes. The energy shifts. It's not magic, it's a mindset. You want trust? Then act like someone trustworthy. You want respect? Stand with firmness and dignity. You want good relationships? Be a safe place for others. Epictetus said, "First tell yourself who you want to be, then do what it takes to become that person." This is the key that opens the door. Many people wait to feel before acting, but in reality, the movement begins in the opposite direction. You act first, and feelings come later. If you want abundance, practice gratitude every day. If you want to experience love, practice true presence. If you want peace, stop feeding the same old stories that hold you back. You don't need the world to change first. You're the one who changes the energy with which you present yourself to it. When you stop being the beggar and start being the builder, everything around you begins to respond differently, not by luck, but because you finally begin to vibrate at the frequency of what you desire to receive. If these words resonate with you, write, "Today I act as if it were already real." But more important than writing it down is living with this attitude. Your new reality begins the moment you choose to act like someone who already believes it's possible. And if you're enjoying the content, consider becoming a member of the channel. In addition to helping the channel, you also get exclusive content. Click on the link in the description and become a member right now. Back to the content. 7. How to apply calm in practice without escaping reality. Understanding is only the beginning, but living what you understand is what truly changes everything. Talking about letting go, trusting, and living in the present sounds beautiful, but it's hard to put it into practice when the bills are due tomorrow, your heart is still hurting, or the world seems to move faster than you. It's precisely in these moments that Stoicism stops being just words and becomes real strength. The first lesson learned is simple yet powerful. Calm doesn't come from controlling everything. It comes from seeing clearly. And to have clarity, you need to be present. Before trying to change the entire world, stop and observe. Take a real look at what's holding you back and ask yourself, what am I trying to force? What am I afraid of losing? Sometimes it's someone who's gone and you want to bring back. Other times it's an old dream that no longer fits who you are, but you insist on holding on to out of pride. It could be a painful memory you refuse to forgive, or simply the fear of starting over. The pain increases when you fight what's already real. But something changes when you say, with sincerity, "This is where I am, and even though it's not the place I wanted, this is where I can start over." Think of someone who's just gone through a breakup. The desire to recover the relationship, to go back, seems impossible to control. But calm begins when this person has the courage to admit, "It's over, and even though I miss it, I need to stop trying to save something that's already gone." This isn't ignoring what you feel. It's realizing there's another choice besides wallowing in sadness. Getting up, breathing, taking care of yourself, and moving forward. It's stopping chasing what's already past and starting to walk toward what can still blossom. It's in this moment that the person begins to rebuild their life, little by little, with new routines, seeking true support, learning to see themselves not as someone lost, but as someone who is finding themselves again. This is being present. This is having strength. Or think about someone who's just lost their job. Their mind panics, creates 1,000 fears, and starts racing for any way out. But serenity appears when they stop for a moment and say, "Okay, it happened. I can't change yesterday, but I can act today. I can update my resume. I can cut some expenses. I can ask for help and start over." It's at this point, between despair and calm, that true power is born. Marcus Aurelius said, "What's in front of you is enough. Just act. Act, but not as one running lost, but as one choosing the next step wisely. And when your mind starts to wander into the what-ifs, what if it doesn't work? What if it never gets better? Bring it back with a simple question. What can I do now with what I have?" Sometimes the answer is to clear your space, breathe for 2 minutes, or write down what you're feeling, even if it hurts. These small gestures are anchors. They connect you to the now, the only place where change truly happens. And when chaos seems overwhelming, remember one of the harshest but also most liberating truths of Stoicism. It's not the event itself that destroys, but the judgment you create about it. So pay attention to the words you repeat within yourself. Don't say, "This is impossible to bear." Say, "This is what I have to face today." And notice how your energy changes. Because it's not just what you think that affects you, it's the way you talk to yourself. Often suffering grows not because of the pain itself, but because you compare yourself, criticize yourself, and pressure yourself to be faster, stronger, more perfect. This is where haste, guilt, and the fear of being late come from. All of this suffocates your peace. Respect your own pace. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. Don't try to run a marathon in the time of someone who's almost finished. Remember, different flowers bloom at different times. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not try. It is because we do not try that they become difficult." And trying sometimes is simply continuing, even if slowly. These practices don't work magic, but they do work miracles. The miracle of ceasing to be a prisoner of the outside world and beginning to build strength from within. And when that happens, you no longer need to desperately chase after everything, because what is yours begins to feel your firmness and comes to you. 8. Lack attracts more lack. There's a type of energy that many people don't even realize, but it influences everything you attract. It's the energy of lack. When your mind only sees what's missing, the love that didn't arrive, the money that didn't arrive, the recognition that didn't appear, you enter a state of constant lack. The problem isn't wanting something, but living from the absence, waking up every day feeling like something essential is missing, and letting that feeling guide your mood, your attitudes, and your choices. Epictetus said that it's not things that disturb people, but how they think about them. And the most dangerous thought anyone can have is, "I'll only be happy when..." This kind of belief creates an invisible cycle. The more you think about what's missing, the more you reinforce the idea that scarcity is part of who you are. It's like the old fable about two creatures crossing the same path. The first, a fly, only lands where there's dirt. She sees trash everywhere, hears noises in every gesture, and finds fault with everyone. When asked what she saw along the way, she replies with disdain, "Nothing good, just rot." The second, a bee, follows the same path, but lands where there are flowers, sees colors, smells scents, notices life. And when asked what she found, she smiles and replies, "The most beautiful flowers of the season." The difference between them? The world was the same, only the perspective was different. That's how the mind works. Everything you focus on grows. If you only see what's missing, you reinforce the idea that nothing is enough. But if you learn to look at what exists, at what you can still create, at what flourishes around you, your reality begins to transform. A mind trapped in scarcity sees no opportunities. It only confirms its own lack. But when you shift your focus from what's missing to what you can build, from what you don't have to what you can offer, something powerful happens. You stop being an emotional beggar and become the creator of your own life. Letting go of scarcity is an act of courage. Not because it disappears overnight, but because you decide to stop feeding it. True abundance begins within, long before it appears externally. So instead of repeating, "I need this to be happy," say, "I already have everything I need to get started," and see what happens. When you abandon the identity of lack, you begin to live as someone who already has, and the world responds to this new energy. 9. Conscious surrender is the point where life and reason meet. There's a profound difference between giving up and surrendering. Giving up is when you abandon something out of weakness. Surrender is when you accept it out of wisdom. One comes from fear, the other from lucidity. Stoicism teaches that true strength lies not in fighting reality, but in cooperating with it. Conscious surrender is the moment when a human being stops resisting the flow of life and begins to walk with it, with clarity, purpose, and serenity. Seneca said that fate guides those who accept and drags those who resist. This phrase contains one of the greatest philosophical truths of all time. Life always moves, whether you want it to or not, and the more you try to force it to follow your personal plan, the more it pulls you back to the natural course of things. Suffering arises from this resistance. The ego wants to command, but reality doesn't obey. Conscious surrender, on the other hand, arises from maturity, from the understanding that there is a balance between acting and accepting, between will and flow, between reason and mystery. Epictetus taught that the secret to tranquility is to distinguish what depends on us from what doesn't. This is the starting point of conscious surrender. When you do your best, act courageously and fulfill what is within your control, and yet something turns out differently than expected, the next step is acceptance, not out of resignation, but out of wisdom. You understand that your responsibility ends where destiny begins. Conscious surrender is both rational and spiritual. Rational because it recognizes the limits of human action. Spiritual because it trusts that life knows what it's doing. It's the point where the mind and heart cease to be rivals and begin to cooperate. Reason guides what should be done. Surrender allows this to happen with ease. Think of an archer. They train, prepare their bow, adjust their aim, control their breathing, and then release the arrow. The moment it flies, fate takes over. The wind, the distance, the weather, everything outside their control now decides the outcome. If the archer tries to hold the arrow to ensure a hit, they never shoot. And if they do shoot, they despair with each deviation, lose their composure and miss the next shot. The wise archer does their best and trusts. This is conscious surrender, acting with precision, releasing with serenity, and accepting whatever comes with dignity. Life demands this same balance. The problem is that we confuse surrender with passivity. We think that letting go is the same as doing nothing, but that's not the case. Surrendering consciously means acting with total presence and then letting go of attachment to the outcome. It's living responsibly, but without obsession. It's moving with intention, but without anxiety. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "Accept what fate gives you, for it was woven into you." This insight reminds us that there is a broader order guiding things, an invisible logic that only reveals itself when we stop fighting it. Conscious surrender is the recognition of this order. It is the moment when the ego, tired of trying to control the uncontrollable, surrenders, and in that surrender finds peace. There's power in letting go, because when you let go of the fear of losing, you discover the space to win. When you let go of the need to prove, you find the freedom to be. When you let go of the desperation for immediate results, you begin to build something that truly lasts. Surrender doesn't weaken, it realigns. Reason says, do your best. Life responds, and trust the rest. In this silent dialogue, the soul matures. You realize that absolute control is an illusion, and that true wisdom lies in walking with life, not against it. Conscious surrender is the bridge between the human and the divine, between effort and faith, between calculation and mystery. When you learn to surrender consciously, something inside you quiets. The fear of making mistakes diminishes, anxiety dissolves, and your heart finds a more natural rhythm. It's as if the entire universe breathes along with you. You realize that everything that is yours will come, in the right time, in the right way. And perhaps this is the greatest teaching of the Stoics. To live well is to act with reason and accept with serenity. It's to understand that surrender is not the end of the struggle, but the beginning of wisdom. Because deep down, life never wanted to drag you down. It just expected you to learn to walk with it. 10. True strength lies in the mind that knows how to receive. There is a big difference between want something and be controlled by one's own will. When desire is balanced, you act with calm and clarity. But when it becomes an obsession, begins to steal your energy, your attention, and your inner peace. Everything around you starts to revolve around one thing, and you end up losing what you miss, forgetting what you already have. The Stoicism teaches us to look at thoughts from a distance, with calm and attentive eyes. Epictetus said, "Don't let yourself be carried away by what goes through your mind, just observe." And that's where a receptive minded is not weak or still. She is firm, yet light. It is a mind that has learned not to believe everything you think, who understands that not everything can be controlled, and that the best thing is live in the now with peace of mind, without the burden of wanting to predict the future to feel safe. When desire takes over, you stop seeing the truth and start seeing just anxiety. Everything seems urgent, scarce, compared to the other, and the more effort you put into it, the more tense and far from peace you stay. But when you take a deep breath, slow down and just observe your thoughts, something inside you changes. You start to see things as they really are, and not as your busy mind wants them to be. At this moment, you exchange the illusion of control for the clarity of acceptance, and that brings a sense of true freedom. An open mind is like a wide open window. The air enters, the light passes, the new arrives. She doesn't try to hold back time, nor close the door to the unexpected. Living like this isn't giving up on dreaming or fighting. It's follow the path with serenity, without confusing result with value. No deserved victory, no control with peace. You acts with intention, but also accept wisely. You is dedicated, but don't exhaust yourself trying to force what doesn't depend solely on you. The lesson is simple. Stop getting hung up on what's missing. Let what is yours come at the right time. When you stop pushing, the path is shown. When you stop chasing, what belongs to you comes to you. The Stoic mind, when it is calm and open, see what really matters. She becomes more present, more sensitive to the signs of life and small miracles that only those who slow down can perceive. And this is where the Master's words, Thich Han, shine like a light. To let go is to be free, and freedom is the basis of happiness. As long as you hold on to anger, fear, haste, or possessions, cannot be truly free. That's why letting go of control is not weakness, it is inner growth. It's opening up space to see further. It's stop fighting reality and start walking with it. The most valuable things in your life, they don't arrive when you demand, but when you are ready. And being ready is this: being present, calm, and conscious. So breathe. Let go of the hardness, the rush, and above all, let go of fear. Tell yourself, my mind flows. This is your pact with peace. It's the first step to living with more lightness, more clarity, and more freedom. But there is something important to understand. If you have been trying for a long time to get out of your comfort zone and learn more, but you still haven't managed to do so, there may be something you are not aware of. I know what it could be. It is anxiety. Anxiety is like a snake that comes silently and affects you without you realizing it. It makes you feel bad for days, months, and even years. Living like this is like being sick all the time. But I know a solution. The Stoic philosophers, together with modern psychology, have a way to help you get rid of this. I myself managed to cure myself of this anxiety. I made a video explaining how you can get rid of this evil, and it is in the first comment. Click on the link in the first comment and start curing yourself of this feeling of anxiety. 11. What is yours only comes when you are at peace with yourself. One of the biggest lies we believe is that we need to constantly run, prove ourselves, achieve more and more just to feel like we're enough. But the truth is, what's truly yours doesn't appear when you beg, chase, or tire yourself out trying to force it. It arrives when you find peace within yourself. It arrives when you are whole, whole in your principles, whole in the way you live, whole in the way you treat yourself. Seneca said, "Nothing is enough for those who think enough is not enough. Not because you don't deserve more, but because you haven't yet realized your own worth. You can't expect life to bring you balance if inside you're still living in pieces. You can't have a healthy relationship if you constantly put yourself out there to please everyone. You can't expect abundance if you still act like someone who sabotages themselves in silence. Life begins to fall into place when you become whole inside. That's when everything changes, when you stop asking for attention and start building self-love. It's when you stop seeking recognition through shouting and learn to respect yourself, even when you're quiet. And when you live this way, whole even with scars, even while still learning, life sees it. It recognizes you halfway and gives you back what was always yours, not by chance nor out of pity, but because there's finally coherence between who you are and what you receive. 12. The blocks that prevent you from trusting and letting go. Everyone talks about let go, trust the path and stop trying to control everything. In theory, it seems simple, even light. But when the real moment arrives, the moment of give up on someone, of stop insisting on something that doesn't work, of accept that you are not in charge of everything, something inside you resists. This resistance comes from within and is almost always disguises as protection, as if it were safer to continue in chaos than to face the empty of a new beginning. But that's exactly what keeps you trapped. The first enemy that appears is the fear of losing, of failing, of giving up and ending up with nothing. But think about it. How many times have you held something so tightly who didn't even realize how much it affected you hurt? It's like squeeze a thorn. The more afraid you are to let go, the more pain you feel. Epictetus said that nothing great is destroyed by external losses, but rather by your opinions about these losses. You don't have to throw away what's important, but you might need to release the idea that something only has value if it is maintained at any price. Sometimes letting go is the only way to save what is still good, including within you. Another obstacle is the impatience. We live surrounded by haste, goals, and comparisons. We want results before even experiencing the process. But having calm doesn't mean standing still. It means being present and conscious. Think of a freshly pruned tree. It looks empty, sad, even broken, but it is in the silence of waiting that it prepares to bloom again. Real fruits are not born with a cry, they grow at the right time. This requires faith, not blind faith, but calm confidence of those who understand that what is invisible today, tomorrow it may bloom. Another enemy is their rigidity. It hurts when life does not follow the plan you designed, but was it life that failed or its expectations that were too big? It's like building a sandcastle and then complain about the sea. The error is not the tides, but the illusion that everything would be permanent. Exaggerated expectations become invisible grids, and often the suffering does not come from what happened, but from perfect image that you created of what should have happened. Seneca said, "If you want everything to happen your way, you will be unhappy. But if you accept what life brings, you will find peace." To be flexible is not being weak, it is having emotional intelligence. The prideal so holds us back. It's that inner voice saying, "If I let go, I'm giving up." But letting go isn't giving up. It's understand the moment, is be humble, is to recognize that we are part of nature. We are not above it. Just like everything in nature, we go through cycles, phases, and seasons. Whenever we try force something out of this rhythm, nothing flows. Not for lack of effort, but because we are not in tune with reality. Think about electricity. You don't see it, but if you move where you shouldn't, you feel it. Life is similar. Ignoring its laws, it's no use, it only delays. When you understand this, you begin to act in harmony with the whole, not as someone trying to control the universe. It is then that things start flowing again, effortlessly and painlessly. Deep down, behind all these challenges, there is one desire: toe check. Controlling other people's feelings, the timing of things, the course of events. But life, it is not an engineering project. Issa, moving river. And whoever tries to hold the water with their hands ends up tired and still loses what was essential. You don't have to give up everything at once. Start little by little. Release a charge today, a judgment tomorrow, a conversation that always repeats itself and leads nowhere. It's like take the extra weight out of a suitcase. You don't have to throw everything away, just let go of what doesn't help you move forward. And then, watch, nothing in your life will fall apart. On the contrary, something new will start to grow inside you. Lightness, clarity, and freedom. And beware of a common mistake, thinking that letting go is the same as not caring. This is a mistake. When you release with awareness, you matters in a purer form. Not out of necessity, but because presence. Not out of attachment, but out of true love. It's the difference between hold someone's hand and pull that person by the shoulders. One gesture welcomes, the other suffocates. Letting go is trust. And trust it is not crossing your arms, is put your energy where it makes sense, in the now, in you, in what is truly within your reach. 13. Life rewards those who act with presence, not in haste. We live in a time when haste has become synonymous with value. Everyone rushes, produces, posts, compares themselves, as if speed were the same as progress. But the truth is that haste rarely builds, it only disguises a lack of direction. Those who act too quickly are usually trying to escape their own silence, and it is in this silence that clarity resides. The ancient Stoics knew this. A hurried mind is a blind mind, because it doesn't observe the present, it merely passes through it. Seneca said that those in a hurry live as if time were their enemy, and that's exactly what we do. We wake up feeling behind schedule, work anxiously, and go to sleep feeling guilty, thinking we never did enough. Life becomes a cycle of pressure and dissatisfaction. But presence is the antidote. Acting with presence means being fully present in each action without dividing yourself between what has already passed and what hasn't yet arrived. It means placing your full focus on what's before you now, the conversation, the task, the breath, the next step. Presence transforms the ordinary into the sacred. It turns the simple act of washing the dishes into a practice of mindfulness, work into a form of discipline, and silence into an opportunity for self-mastery. When you are truly present, time ceases to be an enemy and becomes an ally. It doesn't push you, it guides you. Haste wants to arrive quickly. Presence wants to arrive safely. And it is this difference that changes a person's destiny. The Stoics taught that control lies not in the pace of the world, but in how you position yourself before it. A hasty general loses a war. A hasty philosopher loses understanding. A hasty worker loses purpose. The present mind sees what the anxious mind ignores, that everything has its own rhythm, and that trying to speed things up is like plucking a flower before it blooms. Think of a blacksmith. He doesn't strike the iron with anger or carelessness. He does so with precision and rhythm. Each blow has intention, each pause has meaning. So too should your action be, rhythmic, conscious, firm. The hurried blacksmith breaks the metal, the patient one transforms it into a sword. And it's the same with life. What you do in haste is lost. What you do with presence is eternalized. Acting with presence means understanding that it's not the volume of actions that changes the world, but their depth. It's doing fewer things, but doing them with complete awareness. It's working without losing sight of yourself. It's acting without disconnecting from your purpose. Presence is the point where discipline and peace meet. It's where the body acts and the mind rests. When you slow down, the world doesn't stop, it aligns. What was once confusion becomes clarity. What was once urgency becomes direction. And what seemed distant begins to approach naturally, effortlessly, because life doesn't reward those who rush, but those who walk consciously. Not those who arrive first, but those who arrive whole. So before you speed up again, ask yourself, why am I in such a hurry? The answer will almost always be fear. Fear of wasting time, of falling behind, of not being enough. But nothing is more costly than living your entire life in a rush and only realizing at the end that you forgot to live it. Presence is the state of a soul that has learned to trust. It's the point where haste dissolves and purpose begins. So take a deep breath, look around, and act mindfully. Life isn't about the race, it's about the pace you take now. 14. Letting go of control is an act of courage, not weakness. From an early age, we are taught to seek control. Control over the future, over outcomes, over people, over ourselves. We grow up believing that security is synonymous with mastery, that we will only be well when everything is under our control. But the more we try to control life, the more it slips through our fingers. Control, when driven by fear, is not strength, it is imprisonment. And courage in this context is just the opposite. It is the ability to let go of what cannot be held without losing faith in the path. Epictetus said, "Some things depend on us, others do not." It seems simple, but this distinction is one of the greatest tests of emotional maturity anyone can achieve. A mind that tries to control the uncontrollable lives at war with its own destiny. It wastes energy trying to correct the wind instead of adjusting the sails, and in the process it loses serenity, focus, and health. Releasing control, therefore, is not giving up. It is choosing wisdom over illusion. The courage to let go arises from the clarity that not everything needs to be under your control to succeed. It's accepting that there are greater forces at work, time, other people's decisions, chance, and that fighting them is wasting the little real power you have, the power to act well in the present moment. It's fear that tries to control everything. Trust just observes and does what's possible. Seneca warned, "What disturbs you is not things, but the idea you form of them." The attempt to control is at its core the fear of feeling, fear of suffering, of loss, of making mistakes. But life is not an exact equation, it is a flux. Those who try to master it end up stuck, rigid, brittle. But those who learn to flow with it discover a different strength, the strength of flexibility. The tree that refuses to sway with the wind is the first to fall in the storm. Letting go isn't about becoming passive, it's about becoming lucid. It's about continuing to act but with ease. It's about doing your best without demanding that everything turn out as you imagined. It's about acting without clinging to the outcome, because you understand that the outcome isn't your territory, it's the territory of life. When you let go, fear loses its grip. You stop living like a tense general trying to anticipate every battle and start acting like a wise strategist who understands the terrain, reads the movement, and responds calmly. Imagine someone trying to hold water in their hands. The more force they exert, the more water escapes through their fingers. But if they open their hands and simply cup them, the water remains. This is control. True mastery comes when you understand the natural rhythm of things and act in harmony with it, not against it. Marcus Aurelius said, "Life is opinion." If you see every unexpected event as a personal failure, you will live under constant tension. But if you understand that there is a limit to what can be done, you begin to breathe. And it is in this breathing that courage appears, the courage to not need to have all the answers, to accept the mystery, to trust the process. Releasing control is reconciling with reality. It's allowing time to do its job, without trying to rush what's still maturing. It's like planting a seed. You water it, care for it, protect it from the strong sun, but you can't force the sprout to sprout. Strength lies in waiting, in trusting that the invisible is working in your favor. When you let go, you don't lose power, you regain it. Because real power isn't about dominating the world, but about dominating yourself. It's about acting with serenity amidst chaos, about accepting what comes without giving in to despair. Life becomes easier when you understand that absolute control is an illusion. True mastery is internal. And paradoxically, it's when you let go of control that you discover how strong you are, because fear screams at you to hold on, but courage whispers, trust. And it's in that whisper that freedom begins. 15. Those who trust flow, those who distrust freeze. Life is movement. Everything in it changes, grows, transforms. But the human mind fears this flow, and by trying to resist, ends up creating suffering. Distrust is the tension that interrupts the natural course of things. It transforms every step into doubt, every choice into threat, every relationship into defense. Trust, on the contrary, is walking lightly, even without knowing what comes next. It is accepting the unknown, not as an enemy, but as part of the process. Epictetus said that what disturbs us is not the facts, but the judgment we make of them. And distrust is precisely this judgment that distorts reality. It makes you imagine risks that don't exist, doubt real opportunities, and see danger where there is only learning. A distrustful mind lives surrounded by walls, and within them nothing flourishes. Trusting isn't being naive, it's being lucid enough to act with serenity, even knowing that absolute control is impossible. Confidence is born from the experience of surviving uncertainty. How many times have you thought you couldn't handle it? And you did. How many times has fear tried to paralyze you, but life went on anyway? This is what confidence teaches. It's not about having guarantees, but about remembering that you've overcome before, and you can overcome again. A mind that trusts is flexible. It adapts. It understands that the unexpected isn't the end. It's just the next chapter. Seneca said that he who fears the future loses it twice, through the suffering of anticipation and through the pain of the event. Distrust is precisely this anticipated suffering. It is the attempt to protect oneself from what has not yet happened, and paradoxically it weakens us. Because the energy that could be used to act with clarity is spent defending oneself from mental ghosts. Trusting is an act of presence. It's looking at reality without fantasy, without excessive fear, and still following. It's like a river. It doesn't need to know where it ends to keep flowing. It simply follows its course, skirting rocks, accepting curves, respecting nature's rhythm. And in the end, it always finds the sea. Human trust works the same way. The more you resist, the more you exhaust yourself. The more you flow, the further you go. This doesn't mean you should blindly trust everything and everyone. Stoicism teaches prudence, not naivete. Trust means trusting first in yourself, in your own strength, your own choices, your own ability to face whatever comes. When this internal foundation is firm, everything else becomes simpler. You don't need to predict the future. Just trust in your ability to deal with it when it arrives. Think of someone crossing a bridge. If they trust, they walk firmly, attentively, but calmly. If they distrust, they look down, feel dizzy, hesitate, and each step becomes more difficult. The crossing is the same. What changes is your posture. Life doesn't ask you to rush or control, just be present. Trust is the invisible bridge between the now and what is yet to come. Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations repeated, "Accept what fate brings and move forward with courage." He knew that trust is the soil of serenity. Those who trust don't need all the answers. It's enough to know they're on the right path. And even when they stumble, they understand that each fall teaches something that haste would overlook. Distrust is a prison of uncertainty. Trust is a silent liberation. When you trust, your mind slows down, your body relaxes, and your intuition awakens. Life begins to cooperate with you because your energy shifts. You stop acting out of fear. and start acting out of clarity. The world tends to open up to those who don't face it with resistance, but embrace it with courage. Trusting is choosing to flow even when the waters seem murky. It's believing that, amidst the chaos, there's a certain rhythm guiding you. And when you learn to follow that rhythm, you realize that life was never against you. It was just waiting for you to stop fighting it. So when fear tries to paralyze you, breathe and tell yourself, I trust. Not because everything is under control, but because even when it's not, you remain whole. And it's this wholeness that makes life flow. 16. Fate favors the flexible mind. Nothing in nature is rigid and, at the same time, lasting. Everything that survives, rivers, trees, mountains, even the human body, adapts. What is inflexible breaks. What is malleable resists. The human mind, however, has a habit of hardening. It wants everything to happen as planned, for people to act as expected, for the world to follow its rhythm. But fate does not bend to our will, and that is why Seneca said, "Fate guides those who accept it and drags those who resist it." Mental rigidity is a form of disguised pride. It's the belief that we know what's best, even when reality proves otherwise, and the more we cling to this idea, the more we suffer. Flexibility, on the other hand, is a sign of wisdom. It allows you to change without losing yourself, to adapt without becoming disfigured. A flexible mind isn't indecisive, it's conscious. It understands that each situation demands a different response, and that remaining open is the key to walking lightly. Think of a sailor. He doesn't fight the wind. He studies it, adjusts the sails, and stays the course. The same wind that knocks down those who resist is the same that carries forward those who adapt. So it is with life. Circumstances are neither good nor bad, they just are. What defines the outcome is how you react to them. The Stoic doesn't seek a calm sea. He seeks to learn to navigate any storm. Epictetus taught that the wise man lives in harmony with the flow of the world. He doesn't try to change the river, he simply chooses the best way to cross it. This is the essence of flexibility, acting firmly without becoming hard, maintaining principles without becoming stubborn. A flexible mind is not passive, it is strategic. It knows when to move forward and when to wait. Rigidity, on the other hand, stems from fear. Fear of losing control, fear of appearing weak, fear of adapting and being judged. But life is not impressed by fear. It continues to change, whether you like it or not. What separates those who grow from those who suffer is the ability to move with it. The rigid mind tries to force the world to fit its expectations. The flexible mind adjusts its expectations to fit the world. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Adapt to what nature demands. What time brings, accept with serenity." He understood that wisdom and flexibility go hand in hand. The wise man doesn't fight the inevitable, he transforms it into opportunity. This is why destiny favors those who adapt, because destiny is movement, and only those who move with it can evolve. Being flexible doesn't mean giving up your values, but understanding that there are many paths that lead to the same destination. It means having firmness in your purpose but lightness in your approach. It means learning to start over without guilt, to change course without feeling lost. A flexible mind sees each change not as a threat, but as an opportunity for growth. Think of the seasons. None of them resist the test of time. Winter dissolves into spring, summer gives way to autumn, and yet nature remains whole. This is true resilience, changing form without losing its essence. The same applies to life. When you embrace movement, pain transforms into wisdom, failure into learning, the end into a new beginning. Fate smiles on those who learn to bend without breaking, because flexibility is proof that you trust, not in chance, but in yourself. It's the understanding that, whatever the scenario, you will know how to respond with balance and clarity. And when the mind reaches this point, nothing threatens it anymore, because it doesn't fight against what is, it cooperates with what is. So when something doesn't go as planned, don't see it as a defeat but as a redirection. The universe doesn't punish, it only corrects course. And if you have the wisdom to adjust rather than resist, you'll discover that fate was never against you. It was just waiting for you to become flexible enough to go with it. 17. Inner silence is the soil where trust flourishes. In an increasingly noisy world, silence has become a luxury, and paradoxically a vital necessity. Not external silence, made of the absence of sound, but inner silence, that space within you where thoughts calm, emotions organize, and truth emerges. It is in this silence that trust is born, grows and strengthens. Because trust is not noise, it is roots, and roots do not grow amidst turmoil. The noise of the mind is the greatest thief of clarity. It manifests itself in the form of constant worries, endless comparisons, doubts that spin in circles and fears that repeat like an echo. This internal noise creates a feeling of insecurity, as if something is always about to go wrong. And the more you try to overthink it, the louder the noise grows. The anxious mind believes control comes from reasoning, but true mastery comes from stillness. Epictetus said, "No man is free until he masters himself," and mastering yourself begins with silencing what is useless. Inner silence is not emptiness, it is presence. It is when you stop chasing answers and begin to listen to them within. It is when the voices of doubt and fear fade, and the voice of wisdom begins to be heard. That calm, steady, and ancient voice that reminds you that you have overcome before, that you are capable, that life follows its own rhythm. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "A calm mind is a man's strength." This simple yet powerful phrase sums up what Stoicism has always taught. True confidence comes not from guaranteeing the future, but from being at peace in the present. When the mind is silent, it sees what was previously obscured by noise. The solutions, the opportunities, the right direction. But achieving this silence is a practice. It begins the moment you decide to stop reacting to everything. When you choose not to respond immediately to a provocation, when you pause before justifying yourself, when you breathe before making a decision, you are cultivating the terrain of serenity. Little by little, this pause becomes space, and this space becomes strength. Seneca said that no one can think clearly while being carried away by passions. Silence is what interrupts this drift. It separates impulse from action, emotion from decision. When you practice it, you discover something surprising. Confidence is not born of certainties, but of the tranquility of not needing them. It's like a lake. If the surface is turbulent, you can't see the bottom. But when the water calms, everything becomes visible. The same happens within you. While your mind is full of noise, criticism, fears, demands, you don't see your own strength. But when silence sets in, confidence emerges naturally, like a reflection of your true nature. Practicing silence isn't about escaping the world, it's about preparing yourself to face it with lucidity. It's a form of spiritual discipline. You can start with small gestures, turning off notifications, walking without music, taking deep breaths before bed, writing down what you feel instead of speaking impulsively. With each moment of stillness, you draw closer to your essence. And the closer you get to it, the less you need approval, certainty, or control. Confidence flourishes in this soil because it is the offspring of clarity. Those who truly listen to themselves don't get lost in the noise. Those who know their own center aren't shaken by external chaos. It's silence that allows you to hear what's essential, and when you hear, you act with conviction. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why can face any how." Silence is the space where this why reveals itself. It shows you not only what needs to be done, but also what can be left behind. It cuts out the unnecessary and brings you back to what truly matters. Inner silence is therefore the cradle of trust, because it reconnects you with what is stable within an unstable world. When you learn to listen to this silent place, you discover that you don't need to shout to be heard, nor rush to get there. Everything that is yours blossoms in its own time as long as the soil is fertile. And this ground is called calm. The calm of those who don't react to every noise, of those who trust the process, of those who understand that silence is not the end of sound, but the beginning of wisdom. 9. What to do to achieve what you want. Most people live stuck in the idea of the result. Want to be successful, be happy, receive recognition, but they forget something very important. No one has control over the outcome. Just about the process. That's why so many people feel tired, frustrated, and end up giving up. They put all their energy into what cannot change and forget to take care of what really matters. When you realize you are in this cycle, wanting too much, expecting too much, demanding too much, it's time to stop. It's time to change the pattern, to go back inside and remember what really has value. One of the strongest lessons I learned came from the writer Ryan Mancy. Focus on actions, not results. This phrase seems simple, but it changes everything about how you see life. The result is a consequence. Action is a choice. You does not control if you're going to get a promotion, but can control if you're going to do your best today. You does not decide if he will be loved, but you can choose be a person who cultivates healthy relationships. You does not send in the timing of things, but you can guarantee that it will be ready when they arrive. The Stoicism always taught this. Don't waste energy asking the world to give you something. Instead, give yourself to the world your best with focus, action, and presence. The more you cling to the idea of getting there, the further away everything seems. But the more you act in the now, not that can do today, the faster the path forms. Maybe things don't happen when you expect it, but if you continue planting with constancy and clarity, what is yours will bloom. Not by luck, but because you acted with purpose. So, trust yourself. Believe that you're capable and that deserves to achieve what he dreams of. But focus your energy on what can be done now and not what is still missing. Release the weight of expectation and exchange it for strength of commitment. The more you think about success, the less he appears. But the more you act with intention, the closer success gets. Silently. Sometimes what you're looking for is right in front of you, just waiting for you to slow down. Open your heart and let life happen without trying to control everything. When you do that, life flows, not because you demand it, but because you are at peace with what is. And this is where the wisdom of Viktor Frankl enters like a straight arrow. Don't aim for success. The more you target him, the more he escapes. Success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. Happiness, it happens, and the same goes for success. You need let it happen, without becoming obsessed with it. And when you do that, you realize that over time, success finds you, precisely because you stopped thinking about him. This is the twist. Let go, act, and allow life to happen. Life doesn't need to be pushed, it blooms naturally when you stop resisting and live the now with presence. If this text helped you see things differently, continue on this journey of reflection, growth, and inner strength. Thank you for being here.